Hey fam, so I just want to give a quick word before I go back and chillax. So this is from Esther 2:7. And Mordecai had brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother. The young woman was lovely and beautiful. When her father and mother died, Mordecai took her in as his own daughter. Hadassah means myrtle. Like the myrtle plant, sweetly scented and beautiful, Hadassah was a rare jewel, an orphan adopted by her cousin Mordecai. He raised her as his own child. Hadassah's identity did not actually emerge until she embraced her identity. It's so good. And did not actually emerge until she embraced it. And the Lord's royal ambassador in the inner courts of prayer and fasting. When Hadassah was chosen to be queen, the new name Esther was given to her. Some believe this name means star. Others link her name to the Babylonian goddess of beauty, Ishtar. The well-respected rabbi derives Esther's name from the word that means to hide. She was hidden in her guardian's house until it was her time to enter into the royal courts. Her nationality was concealed until it was time for her to make it known. She was unknown, about to attract great attention. Personal identity needs to be hidden until revival causes it to emerge at the appropriate time. And so I have some notes because I'm all into names and studying, and because of what my name meant. And then Esther, I was actually raised up from the town of Esther, and like 5 minutes from my grandparents' house. And I used to go to that church. It was a Baptist church, and I've been there a few times. My grandpa's, when he passed, we did his stuff there. He went to that church, and it was named Esther. So I went there a few times as a little girl, and then to a Catholic church with my mom, and then with my grandma for St. Mary Magdalene. Go figure, right? So this all ties. So I put Esther, the star, and the star stands for the goddess of Ishtar. And she was about temple prostitution. Ishtar was served by the temple prostitutes of both gender, reflecting her association with sexuality and fertility. The star of Ishtar. Oh, so there's a star. A symbol of Ishtar, the queen of heaven, the goddess of love, war, and fertility. She's equipped with weapons on her back. The god of perverted sexuality, the goddess of prostitutes. Porn came from Ishtar. She's also linked with Jezebel. Eros, which is in the Greek, y'all, and I taught on that earlier this morning, is Ishtar in Greek. So Eros is a type of love, and it's sexuality. It's erotic. She was the ancient god of Nineveh. So the one Jonah ran from, right? He was supposed to go preach and prophesy to these Ninevites. Well, one of the gods that was over Nineveh, that regional spirit, right, was Ishtar. She was a witch. Sex is a part of her witchcraft. She is the god of sexual war. Ishtar changed her gender also. She was a priest or a high priestess of transition. One of her logos was a rainbow. Okay, so the way God speaks, right? So mind you, I was raised up in the occult, in a sex coven, and I also struggled with homosexuality. I liked both because I was traumatized by both in this coven since a little girl. And when I got older, I went up in levels of it. And what are the odds that I was raised 5 miles, give or take, from the town of Esther. What are the odds of that? You can't make this stuff up, right? And Esther also means hidden, okay? There's a significant meaning behind that. And when I used to teach and speak on Facebook, I might have did some teachings on it here. And I said, I was like the Lord said, he hid me in this family and I was his secret weapon, right? So I don't think it's no coincidence that Mordecai hid who Hadassah was, right? And because she was going into this into whole new territory with King Xerxes, and her true identity had to be hidden or they would have killed her. Yeah. So she went in under a name that was tied into that regional spirit. And what are the odds? She was all about prayer and fasting. Before she went in to meet with the king, she prayed and fasted for 3 days. And I've been on many Esther fasts. And what are the odds? I totally believe in the secret place. It does not talk about it in the Bible, but I'm deep that she warred against this spirit, not only the spirit of Haman, because there was a regional spirits in that territory. They were territorial over that region. Haman wanted to kill the Jews, and this came through the Amalekites and Saul not doing what the prophet Samuel said, and he allowed the king and the queen, and the story goes on. And so he had to raise up David because Saul disobeyed. And because of his disobedience, you go down and all these things took place. So God will hide his people in territories to fight these things. And look, for the longest time, I was raised up in this stuff. A lot of times I was unaware till I got way older, till I broke away and God pulled me away. But I kept going back, right? And like the Israelites around that mountain, complaining and whining, going back to my filth, going back to sexual sin, going back to the coven, cutting myself. I have huge scars on my hands in these sex rituals. I struggled 1 minute, y'all. Back in the day, I used to have my hair short and I would look like a guy, and I would do so how it says that she was the goddess of witchcraft, right? With sexuality. The Lord showed me way later. He said, Elizabeth, he said, you didn't have to do spell books when I say about the natural witch and the mantles that were passed down to me, these demonic mantles. I didn't do spells out of a book, or I didn't have an altar and I put with my children, and I later found out I didn't know what that was through abortion and the miscarriage from drugs, which is witchcraft, that I was sacrificing my kids to Molech. I didn't know. And when I found out is when I got saved in 2015. So I did do that. But I was unaware, like I was veiled to what I was doing at that time. And then, so the Lord showed me, he said, Elizabeth, one day I was going to do deliverance on this girl. And now, mind you, I done had this spirit of witchcraft cast out of me. And this is 2 years later. Now I'm walking in the gift of deliverance and healing and other giftings. And the Lord sent a girl to me. She heard about me, and to get deliverance done. And I went into fasting and prayer for her. I killed myself, meaning my flesh, my stomach, because I love to eat, y'all. I'm Cajun and Mexican. I love to eat carbs and all that stuff, which, I'm living different. But and as I'm seeking his face for her freedom and just praying, the Lord revealed to me that I walked in this stuff naturally. And he said, Elizabeth, you have caused fear in people through intimidation, which is a part of craft. She's the goddess of war, right? port of war, you could do things without even touching people, right? And bring intimidation and fear if you know how to operate in the craft, which it's warfare, right? And also, he told me, Elizabeth, you seduced men and women to get what you want. I can look like a dude one minute and have this swag to get a girl if I wanted her. I could doll up like a female, which I'm female and I've done broke things off of me, but I'm just giving examples and being vulnerable and teaching to get what I wanted. And that's witchcraft. She was a witch, right? And so she trained people, was groomed people in these covens like me, was groomed up in these dark arts to get what we wanted, y'all. And I was doing this unaware for the longest time. And then I'm going to keep it real. When I fell and I went back, and I want to teach on this part of this too. So Baal worship, all these things are tied into each other, right? So Baal worship was also with prostitution and sexuality and war. And it says Baal, one of his names is a husband, a lord, right? And you marry him. So I had to divorce myself from Baal. I divorced myself from Ishtar, and I renounced these dark mantles and the things I did in this coven. So I could be married to Yahweh, my first husband, right? My first love before the foundations of the world. And it said something about the people of God, right? Because I got saved in 2015. I really did, gave my life to the Lord, was celibate for 3 years, and talk about the covenant, didn't like that, right? Because I was working for the enemy. And it says when they went back to their sin, it was like a revolving door and they were going back to their husband. But see, for those 3 years, I didn't get that revelation that I was married in the spirit to some of these entities, not only to warlocks and witches that I laid with. That's how people, because, yeah, I'm not saying there's not witches, queens and kings, or princes and princesses in the kingdom of darkness that aren't married, but a lot of them get married in the spirit realm. Because, I mean, marriage, it represents Jesus, the man and the woman, and a lot of them don't get married, and if they do, it's under demonic things, and everybody's sharing each other because it's one big sex coven, right? And so, and the rainbow, like, y'all, God always, once I got saved, all about rainbows and the promises. I stood on the promises, and when I got that revelation and under some teaching from some mighty men and women of God, to see all this, and now I see my calling and why I was chosen. And it's been hard to break all this stuff, and a lot of times I was unaware, and then when I became aware, and then I would go back. When I went back, like I said, these 10 years of going back and forth, there's been a lot of punishment because I went to the Lord and I got saved, and I expose things. So they try to get me to come back. And when I get back, they punish, and it's ritualistic abuse. And it's to get you to get angry and bitter at God. It's to get you to open yourself back up to all these entities to fill your temple up. Y'all, this stuff is wild. And there's no coinky that I was raised 5 miles away from the town of Esther, that I used to go to that church with my grandpa. And then on the other side of my family, I went to the church with my other grandma and mom to St. Mary Magdalene, who was a prostitute and had 7 demons cast out of her. Dude, you can't make this stuff up, bro. Like, it's crazy, y'all. And now I'm at a place like all fear has been broken off of me to expose this and bring it to the light. Because what would I have given back then, or even before? Like, what was happening to me? Because I had people, like Christians that I walked with, used to question me, or couldn't understand why I fell or went back. And I couldn't give an answer for the longest time. Like when I came back and got through Teen Challenge and people asked me questions and then I went back again, I didn't understand it. I didn't have that understanding or that revelation like I have now. And it's, I see. I have eyes to see and ears to hear. And I've leveled up, and I'm grateful for God's grace and mercy on my life, that I came out, that he chose me. I'm not bitter anymore that he chose me. Lord, you know I'm sorry. And not only sorry, like by me exposing and sharing it, that's my action. That's faith, you know, because for the longest time, I didn't want to go all the way deep about some of my mess ups. But the enemy wanted me to keep it hidden. Because what do they call the occult? What does the occult mean? Hidden. Hidden societies, secret societies. Elizabeth, keep those secrets about what you did. Don't fully tell nobody. When I'm called to expose, what does the light do? Expose darkness. And I've been persecuted, y'all. Almost killed so many times from so many people in covens. And all I'm wanting to do is get them saved and let them experience freedom. But I know not all of them is going to be saved. And I could pray from them from afar or even up close, and it's their choice. Choose you which master. You're going to serve Ishtar. You're going to serve Molech. You're going to serve Baal. I did all three. Imagine that. That was numbers speak. And I'm not talking about angel numbers, okay? Gosh, it's mind-blowing, y'all. It's mind-blowing. The queen of heaven, right? Jezebel. It's all tied into this Babylon system. Man, it's so deep. I'm like, God, pain into purpose. Like I said, y'all, I didn't suffer in vain. I didn't suffer in vain, and I learned a lot through these fires and these trials, even in my falls. I think I learned more in the valley than I ever did on a mountaintop, because that's where you learn, right? Hard lessons, I always said, you know. Lord, I mean, if there's any more, if it's from you, but it's like, no, I'm not going back. I'm not looking back at Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm not going back to Egypt. I'm not going back in no coven. I'm not going to have sex out of marriage. I am not going to do drugs anymore because that's witchcraft. I am not going to drink alcohol because that's like a potion too. I am not, because I am a child of God, and I'm not going to come into agreement with these spirits. I'm not going to serve these spirits anymore. I'm not going to bow to them or the beast system. I'm not. No matter what, I'm not. And they know it. That's why they put that pressure on me. I used to have one of the warlocks, a couple of them actually, but one would say, we got to apply that pressure on you to break me. So I would bow. What you do when someone's broken, either or. If you bow into the beast, you're bowing down to the beast system. But if you bow down in humility to the Lord and cry out, you're going to bow down to one or the other. And I've made my choice. There's no more double-mindedness here. There's no more riding no freaking fence. Because if I'm lukewarm, look, the Lord told me that. And even the enemy showed me too. If I would have stayed after giving my life in 2015, right? Even though I'm called and chosen and God's got me, that's a whole nother story. But if I would have stayed in the covenant and served, and I used to teach the word of God, and I still do, my punishment would have been worse than the ones that never got saved. My torture in hell would have been worse. And I gave a testimony when I went to hell when I was in the coven before I got saved. And I was asked the question, would I die for one of the warlocks who was an occult leader? Would I die for him? Would I go to hell for him? And I got brought there and I got tortured, and it was in my female areas, y'all. It was sexual torture. It felt like my whole body was burning, but I could see my skin. And I was surrounded by demons in like this cement cell block, like a prison. And I was getting tortured in my, I'm going to say it, in my woman area, in both areas, the sexual areas. Because I was in a sex coven, and sex was an idol, and I must have bowed my knee to Ishtar, to Baal. Y'all, this stuff is so deep. If you're fornicating out of marriage, and look, I was homosexual, I was bisexual, you almost say trisexual, because I did things in the occult I'm not proud of, but I'm vulnerable about it. And I have family that's like that, and I love them dearly. And I pray for their souls. But it's an abomination. Just like killing the kids, y'all. And I've done abominable things, but his grace is sufficient. So I pray for anyone under the sound of my voice. If you want to be free and you want life, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Repent. He's not playing anymore, and time is short. But he gives everybody a chance. He wishes that no soul would perish. But time is running short, y'all. Mark my words. I said that. I kept saying that last year. Even in my mess ups. But I'm bold and raw enough, like David, to come up here and say I was wrong. To admit, to confess my sin, so someone else can get free. Break shame off of people. I had to get it broken off of me, and you know how? By the power of the Lord in the secret place. Just doing work with me and the Lord. I didn't expose all this in the church. I exposed some things, but not all of it. But in the secret place. And he gave me the courage and the boldness enough to share it for people to see, to hear my testimony, what I come out of, my faults, the back and forth, all of it. So you know what I told the Lord the other day? I said, so Lord, I was in church and I was never converted. I'm converted now. He told me there's a lot of people in church, and I used to hear this when I was with Jimmy, that are in church and they're not converted. They're just there. And a lot of them are bound to things they're unaware of. And they need certain people like me and others that I know to stand up for truth and to expose it. You can't hide a lamp under a basket. You need to put it in the house for all the house to see. Those cities set on a hill, burning lamps that won't go out. But I'm accepted in the beloved because I have the spirit of adoption. I'm no more an orphan like Hadassah was. She became Esther, but she was hidden because she was a secret weapon. And that's why I get persecuted so bad. Like, all this revelation comes to me now, and I'm like, wow, God. And I don't complain and whine. Is it hard? Sometimes, yeah. But my whole life ain't been too easy. Some of it was inflicted from a lot of stuff on the outside, and some of it was self-inflicted, and I can admit that. I'm humble enough to say it. So I hope this shared touched somebody. If you like it, subscribe. If you want to donate to the ministry, my Cash App is on here. I have the enemy blocking all kind of stuff right now, but look, I'm spiritually rich and I trust my daddy. You know what I'm saying? And he's just so good. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Why would you want to taste on anything else? Drink the cup of bitterness. It's a serpent. Trust me, I know. I come out of snake dens, snake covens. Dude, I could go on and on. This stuff is not a joke. And God is not laughing. But he is at the throne from his enemies. So it's kind of like, but this is not a game. People's lives, souls' lives are on stake. This is not a game. This ain't like a freaking video game, dude. This is life. Choose which master you're going to serve. I made my choice. But guess what? I didn't choose him. He chose me. Like I said, I never signed up for this, God. He was like, well, duh. I chose you for it. And I got mad at him. Oh, crazy. But he's so good. And I'm grateful now for the warfare, for being birthed into what I was birthed into. To be chosen to stand in the gap for my family. Little old me, but with a big God. Just like David, he was the smallest out of all his brothers, but God chose little old him to face the Goliaths around him. And he was doing it for his families and his brothers that didn't like him, just like Joseph. His brothers didn't like him. But God, what the enemy meant for harm, he turns it around for our good, for the good of others, but he gets all the glory. Not us. It's nothing in me but his spirit. Because I'm his daughter. I no longer serve the Baals, bow to the enemy, Ishtar, what are all the other ones, Leviathan, you name it, the Pharaoh spirit. No, I might have been raised in Egypt. Might have been raised there. But I've been in the wilderness out here like Moses, having to face the fires, that burning bush, that refiner's fire, and look at the woman in the mirror. Because I'm not a man. I done broke that curse of Ishtar. I'm not going back to homosexuality. And I'm not going back into fornication. And I'm not going back into temple prostitution. Y'all, this is how real it is. Look, so I was on a live earlier with one of my brothers in the faith. And this person kept coming on the live. I've never seen their name before in that live or never noticed. And they kept coming at me. And it was a warlock, probably somebody I know, or just known in the spirit. They kept, Elizabeth, why don't you start your OnlyFans page? And kept coming and asking me how much I go for a night. And I was just like, look, old witch or warlock trying to get me offended. And I was like, oh, they know me. And I had witches and warlocks use sexual footage of me and put it on these porn sites and on the black web to portray to be me, and they made money off of me. I posted this on Facebook last year. So there's people using my identity to get paid. Now, I did some stuff behind closed doors, but I never sold myself on the back page, on the black page, on the whatever this porn site is. None of that. Now, I did things in a coven with, like, I want to say a lover, but it was lust, and it's things in the spirit, prostitution in the spirit realm, which that is real, y'all, through astral projection. And I'm just keeping it G in 100. So when he was doing that, I was like, oh, here we go. See, they even watch me on other people's lives, y'all, monitoring spirits. And I'm going to talk about them, but I'm not worried about them. But I was like, they're trying to get me offended. And it's like, look, dude, how much I cost? Look, I've been bought by a high price, by the blood of Jesus Christ. You can't buy me. I'm already bought by the blood, and I'm covered in it too. I drip in his blood. I saturate in his blood. I pray it over me and my family, my kids, my grandkids, my spiritual kids, over everything, my channel, my ministry, my promises, and not the promises of Ishtar, that rainbow. I'm talking about my promises of Yahweh, you know. But it just shows you that people watch me. Most of them don't like me. They're not here to support the ministry, to say the least. They want to support the other ministry of the dark side. Crazy. Well, the Lord said, shut it off, so I'm going to obey him. I hope this blesses somebody.